for this year's World Economic Forum. The gathering of around 2,500 leaders and experts from around the world will this year focus on the unprecedented global challenges facing the globe, including the COVID-19 pandemic, Russia-Ukraine conflict, as well as climate change. Now, leading the South African delegation to the World Economic Forum this year is the Human Settlements Minister, Mmamoloko Kubayi, as her capacity as the head of Cabinet's Economic Cluster. She joins us now live from Davos, Switzerland. Wonderful to have you. Thanks very, very much for being with us, Minister.
Good morning, Leanne. Good morning to the viewers at home. It's good to join.
It feels a bit strained this year, us coming from a very, very chilly, wintry South Africa, saying good morning to you in a very different climate in Davos, usually snowing and freezing where you are, but things have changed. Talk to us about the time of year and the timing of the conference this year.
No, definitely. It normally takes place at the beginning of the year, around January, and this time is taking place in May, which is some other side. So the weather is lovely. We are not skiing, so compared to being home, I think I'm warmer here compared to the people at home, and it's quite nice. It's different. As you know, people have gotten used to Davos with jackets and seeing snow, but it's different this year.
Yeah.
And that's why, because of COVID, Leanne, the calendar of international events had to be affected. So as the changes happens, you're finding it clashing with other things, having to reorder the year. And to know, because of COVID, January would have been highly unsuitable this side because it would have been a flu season. That's why I think even WEF felt that a warmer season would be better. But it brings challenges. It's different. The number of participants, the nature of participation, it's quite, but it's nice, it's comforting to see that even the international global partners are confining themselves to ensuring that there's COVID test every day. We just did this morning again, the antigen, for us to participate.
So, yeah, you can see that this is a very different atmosphere that this is taking place in. And, you know, when one looks, amazingly, the atmosphere that the World Economic Forum is taking place in, could perhaps tell us a little bit about the current financial status of the world that we're living in. I mean, whether we're talking about China, which is now currently in very hard lockdowns that are having very little to do with World Economic Forum, whether we talk about Russia, that are not allowed to be attending it due to what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine, I think the Ukrainian president will be joining, but via an internet link, as what we've been seeing lately. I mean, we're seeing the brink of a recession, a global recession, that many are saying that this possibly is the moment it's going to be happening. This is a tough, tough time for the globe. This is a very important gathering, no doubt, Minister.
No, definitely. When we look at what is happening, both the incidents, you start with China. The lockdown will affect the value chain. As you know, that China produces quite a lot of materials, will produce quite a lot of things that are needed by the global community. So the lockdown does affect the value chain in terms of what it produces in terms of the global community. And then you look at Russia-Ukraine conflict, and then you find that equally the impact on the oil prices, the impact on the food security as well, is what has to concern all of us. And we do believe that some of this will come up. And from a South African perspective, we remain believing that, and we are happy yesterday, I think the Ukraine president also announced that they believe that diplomatic mediation is the way to go, which has been a stand from South Africa, that we need to ensure that we can restore the order, because many people will ask us as South Africa to say, where do you fit in? And the reason we fit in is our national interest. Our national interest, if the conflict continues, the prices of petroleum products, as you see with our petrol prices, goes higher. And that affects our daily activities in South Africa. It affects our prices in terms of what we consume. So that's why, for the interest of South Africans as well, and many other communities which are emerging markets and poor communities, poor countries, we do want to see this coming to an end and for the global order to be restored.
Yeah. The problem is it looks like it's just about to begin, and that's what many people are fearing. I mean, when we talk about some of the issues that the globe faces, I mean, bringing it back home, South Africa is facing mammoth problems right now. I mean, you've outlined some of it. We're looking at rising inflation. That's a global trend as well. I mean, we're seeing inflation rising around the world, but we're talking in an environment here where people are starving. I mean, there's the reality that here on the continent and in South Africa, we've got people starving, petrol prices going up, inflation, electricity problems, infrastructure problems, flooding that is happening right now as we speak right now. There are huge, huge problems. What are you hoping as Team SA to get out of this? How will it help the normal person that's watching here, sitting at home, hoping for some relief?
For Team SA, the message we are carrying to World Economic Forum, firstly, is to reconfirm our approach in terms of implementation of our economic reconstruction and recovery for the country, because we are affected, as you are saying, it's issues of climate change, it's also issues of COVID, but also reaffirming our position in terms of law and order, in terms of the riots that had happened, because those are some of the concerns that investors would have. Our message as well in terms of just saying we are focused on rebuilding. Over time, there's been concerns, Leanne, about corruption. The reports of the Zondo Commission coming out and therefore government implementing and the country implementing its recommendation gives assurance with that report to saying that as a country, it doesn't matter who you are, there will be consequences in case somebody does wrong things and finds himself in the wrong side of the law. And that's the message we are carrying, reaffirming our commitment. The country released the report on structural reform, which we had committed to say these are the things that we'll do as a country in terms of water licenses, in terms of releasing of spectrum, in terms of energy security, in terms of releasing, in terms of the IPPs. We have committed those. We are giving a report here to reaffirm that South Africa is back based on following the COVID-19, because we've not been in the global space with this being a first World Economic Forum gathering after COVID. That's why the message is important to give the global partners reassurance of South Africa's standing globally, but also what are we doing to help rebuild our economy. That will contribute positively to South Africans, because when we bring more investment, when we reaffirm the importance of investing in South Africa and growing the economy, that benefits South Africans, because either it's SMMEs or people who are looking for jobs, then they are short of a country that is able to provide for their needs. But also in terms of our fiscus, we will be able to see our fiscus recovering to be able to meet the needs of our citizens. One
hopes, we really do, we live in hope that's not just a talk shop and that something does come out of it. I know that the theme this year, and it's quite a powerful theme actually, history at a turning point. That's what the World Economic Forum is focusing in on this year. And I suppose the world has to be at a turning point, because if we're not, then you know, this is a very, very tough and bumpy road that is ahead for everybody. And I mean, we're very selfish looking at ourselves, as every other country is looking at themselves. But one realizes that if things don't change right now, then we're not sure where we go from here. There's a very big business delegation that's gone with you. The top business leaders in South Africa accompanying you on this particular mission. I mean, I can see just the likes of Patrice Motsepe, Patrick Kulikane Dlamini. There's also the DBSA's Renee Parker. There are lots of that are coming with. What are we hoping with this delegation? Do they have goals to walk away with? I mean, investments into the country?
Let me start first, Leanne, before I come to the business partnerships. The issue why it's important to participate in this, it's not just, as you are saying, not talk show, because sometimes our message doesn't get to the relevant people. So participating here, they hear firsthand from a cabinet member who assures them, who gives them feedback, because if we rely on a third party to communicate on our behalf, the message sometimes gets distorted. So presence here, talking to the right people, right investors, engaging with us, hearing from us, what is it that we are doing, but answering their questions is very critical. Coming to the issue of the business delegation, yes, part of what we want to do as South Africa is to showcase the work that we are doing. As you know, that part of what we have said with the economic reconstruction and recovery plan is anchored around the partnership, social compacting, as President has previously said, and we believe that recovery of the country will happen more importantly if we work together as social partners in the country, but showcasing the triple P, which is public-private partnerships that we have seen growing. We look in terms of the infrastructure list that we have released, where we are calling for partnership. We look in terms of the IPPs that we have done, calling in terms of infrastructure development. You look even from our side as human settlement with the social housing and student accommodation in terms of infrastructure. That's where you're seeing the strength of PPPs. And that's what we are saying. As we lead this delegation, as we are here, partnering with business and leaders who are here to also affirm our message as we actually turn the corner of the impact of COVID in our economy. We are doing this not only as a lone voice as government, but we are anchored as well, supported by business. And our interest and our work today, we will be meeting with Team South Africa this morning, and our message is that we need to speak in one voice. We have to ensure that we are able to showcase the partnership, but also from government supporting the business community in terms of partnerships from B2B, that they will be able to start ensuring that they happen within this conference.
I suppose a gift handed to Team South Africa arriving there was, of course, on Friday, the announcement from S&P that they upgraded South Africa's status from positive to, from stable to positive. This, I imagine, bodes well. Obviously, this is on the back of commodity prices and other issues. South Africa still in a difficult situation. We're not pulling blinkers on, but this, I imagine, does help a bit.
Definitely, because we've been very consistent, Leanne. This doesn't happen out of osmosis or automatically. There's been hard work that has been done by government. As I say, the report on the structural reform, we have made a commitment publicly to say these are the things we are going to do. We've reported back. We've done those things. If we look at the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, the 7 pillars in terms of areas of intervention, 60% of those things that we have committed, we have done. And that's why the rating agencies are seeing the commitment coming from government to be able to say they are turning the corner. What we need to start seeing is converting all these activities, the achievements, into real GDP growth. And that's what we are targeting, to see the investment, to see more into the economy so that this can spill over to the South Africans so that they can see value. Because once we start talking about the positive ratings outcome, we talk about the positive implementation of the ERRP, but South Africans don't feel it on the ground. It might be felt like we're talking things that are not happening. So one of the things as we go forward is to ensure that this actually translates to meaningful impact on the ground and we can see value. And this will continue to do, Leanne, as we do and as well as we are here, communicating a positive message to the global community about South Africa turning the tide in terms of its economy.
All right, Minister, let's leave it there. Thanks very much for talking to us. That was Human Settlements Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi in Davos, Switzerland at the moment in her capacity as the cabinet head of the economic cluster, telling us about Team SA's delegation to this year's World Economic Forum that's currently underway. Started yesterday, moves on until the 26th of May. And yeah, tangible is what we're looking for after this. But that remains to be seen. We're just hoping that as much as there's a lot of talk and selling the country, but will that selling result in jobs? That's what we need. Poverty, jobs, devastation, infrastructure, everything back home here needs to be helped. So let's see what comes out of that.